top team anytime. They can play up for sure.
And that's one of the important moments to kind of remember between these two teams is that, sure, they're going through relegations. Sure, they're competing right now to basically see if they can get the upper hand for gauntlet seeding. But
right.
I think that realistically, either one of these teams could walk away with the clean set win here.
No surprise seeing Ao Kwang being banned out. That's a bit of a target ban there for Burrito, as well as the Amuzin Cobb coming out too. Don't want to see that high-pressure Hunter being let through.
And the Ao Kwang more particularly, just to make sure that Johnny doesn't have his way like we've seen so many times before. Ao Kwang seeming to be one of his more go-to kind of picks, although the RDO ban as well, Poppy's not really wanting to have to deal with that flexible pick.
Yeah, RDO we've seen today even be played in both the solo and the support role, so some flexibility there. Just limit some of the control that the Bear brings, and then Raijin banned out, one of our big damage mid laners being taken away.
I actually really like the elimination of Raijin because it's certainly a god that the Poppies would probably lean a little bit more towards as opposed to Burrito. Burrito kind of goes for that double Hunter composition more often than not, at least in a couple of clutch scenarios. So I can really expect that from them, but I really love this Ratataskor pickup by the Poppies. He's been a pretty favorable pick as of late. Seeing a lot of gameplay, and for good reason. He provides a lot of map presence.
And I agree with you about banning out that Raijin. In particular, if you're the team that can pick up Thoth now, I think it's even more high value because those are kind of the two top mid laners, at least it feels like right now. So you secure one of those for yourself and the other one's not available, but Burrito taking the Erlong and then Jingwei, so someone like Erlong makes it through when he had to ban Ao Kwang.
I also, the Osiris as well is a very smart response. This could potentially be a jungle Osiris. We have seen a little bit of that coming out, so that wouldn't surprise me either, but I would probably anticipate it to go into solo, but that's also relying on Erlong being the solo laner and not a support or jungler here.
Still some flexibility available for Burrito in that role as Hu Yi's locked in for Poppies. One of the top tier hunters right now. Strong jungle clear, no surprise there. And then Fafnir locked in to help out that Jingwei.
And Fafnir is going to be a great choice here because of the Jingwei and the Erlong Shen, already two gods that are pretty heavily reliant on their own in-hand. So having that coerce is just going to make things all the easier for Burrito, and especially since they're trying to counteract pressure with pressure. Osiris, Hu Yi, Ratataskor, that is a draft that's really looking to establish an early lead.
And Burrito are a little bit concerned about some of the global pressure that might come out if they let Poppies have Yanis on top of the Ratatosker. They'd be able to get around the map real well, so they banned that away, along with Poppies taking aim at the jungle continued with the Awilix Circuit.
And I like this emphasis that the Poppies are placing onto Burrito. I think that one of the stronger points for Burrito is certainly going to be Johnny on that jungle. And so if you take away some of those comfort picks that he kind of tends to lean towards, especially since they have really strong setup as well with the rest of the draft already.
Big damage coming out from the Poppies on that Zeus. Some setup there from, you know, Cyrus and Khepri. Maybe not the lockdown you like to see, but they got some options.
I love the Hawa. That's a jungle Hawa, no questions asked. It has to be. If it's a solo Hawa, I'm going to be a little upset. But if it's jungle, awesome, because I think that the Hawa can provide exactly what Burrito are looking for, which is that all-in burst potential that they're going to really want to have against a Zeus.
And that carpet, like I think it's actually the Atlas of Yellow River or something like that. We always call it the wet carpet. It's the slow that it provides, as well as like the movement speed buff for your team. I think it's even slow immunity while you're on it is really strong too. So when he comes in, that's something you kind of look for from your jungler, as it is Johnny that's piloting it. Some kind of like mobility or like way to gank in on the lane, and the carpet can kind of do it for him.
Elo Carpet's going to be great for trying to escape from everybody, but right now he's kind of wishing he had it. Level 1 though, he's just got the water cannons, not that carpet for the mobility, so he is going to lose his purification beads, but since it is level 1, it's kind of in favor for Johnny there. Knowing that he doesn't die, he'll probably have those beads back up and running before another engagement comes through.
Creed trading away the horrific emblem, a big part of why he had to use those beads. That slow coming out was going to be way too much for him to deal with. But as you said, getting to live is a pretty big deal. Burrito choose to just go ahead and stick with their speed buff instead of going straight to the lane, and Johnny's actually going to go back to the Harpies. That's going to leave Poppies free to steal this blue.
Johnny was well aware that he had no chance of trying to contest on that blue buff, especially since Sibi wasn't able to establish the lane pressure because Delos started out with Creed.
And this is a big part of why we don't really see mages over here in the solo lane anymore. Like maybe like seasons 1 a lot, season 2 we used to see like Aphrodite's, Chang'e's, like mages over there, but you just get bullied out.
And, I mean, bullying out is kind of what the Poppies have to do right now. This is going to be the most vulnerable time period for Burrito. Johnny, though, can certainly turn right around, deal that damage back, but as far as save poke potential is concerned, the tables are heavily in Poppy's favor. And
Dalo is sticking around with Creed over there as those mid-Harpies get fought over in the mid lane and make sure that there's no chance from Burrito to try and invade on their blue and speed since they still hadn't taken them yet. They do finally go back and clear up those buffs. It looks like Johnny was at least able to confirm his own speed. He does have that around his waist, so that's at least something he's got going in his favor, but the blue buff and the other two went in favor of Poppies.
And Dalo is kind of just roaming around the jungle now. Johnny's having to spend a little bit more time than what he probably want to with Sibby in the solo lane, just because he knows that Dalo has been lurking around, doesn't really want to leave his solo laner alone, wants to make sure that he can at least acquire enough farm to hit 5 safely. And
there's really not anything up on the map for him to farm in the jungle. This is kind of the best source of gold and XP farm right now. The back Harpies are coming back up. That might be his target as he heads back into the jungle. And Burrito do secure these oracles, so they've got some vision on this side as well.
Fire Elementals being in favor of the Poppies, and oracles going the way of Burrito means that the global farm so far has been pretty evenly spread, but I'd imagine that Burrito are probably going to try and contest that blue buff once it respawns off the timer. Speaking of which, Sibby actually getting poked down to just above half health. That was only a couple of abilities.
Just some good poke there from Dalo. Now, I want to ask you, is Dalo hanging out over here just because Johnny's been stuck over here, or why do we see Dalo kind of sticking around?
And Dalo's sticking around because he knows that he can pressure out this lane. When you have an Osiris as your solo laner, you just kind of expect to get the upper hand. Osiris, I think most people would agree, wins that solo lane matchup against the Erlong, and it's largely because of the tether and the way the in-hands work. You just get more poke out potential, and you're able to prevent that Mink form with the Fatalis effect from happening.
And Osiris typically does kind of have a good matchup against those in-handers over there. As you said, he does real well in close quarters engagements. Johnny finally coming over to the left-hand side of the map, but only to back. Going to go ahead and start working on those boots too. And I want to talk to you a little bit here about this matchup with Caspanify and Warchi over there in the duo lane. Already Warchi went and got those Ninja Tabi. Just here early, does that go more towards the Hu Yi or the Jingwei?
As far as early game is concerned, Hu Yi should have a lot more presence in that laning phase. Speaking of which, there's 4 members now on the Poppies attacking the speed buff from Burrito. Looks as though that was a successful invade, but now it might not be a successful disengage. You've already got Ratascore up in the air, Creed doing his best to get away, and honestly, it's that Zeus ultimate really putting the distance between Burrito and the Poppies.
Mr. Nazer creating space for his team to disengage. I believe they were able to successfully steal away that speed buff. We see it sitting around Dalo's waist, so that's one more buff in his favor. But Feastify not looking to let them get away for free, coming down deep into the jungle of the Poppies to try and force him back. Just unfortunately, they're a little bit ahead of those buff timers. I think if they'd known how close they were to spawning, they might have tried to get position as Feastify jumps away.
And Feastify, he actually just hit level 5, so there is some contest potential if Burrito were to look for it, but unfortunately, it seems as though Dalo is going to actually be able to clean up his second speed buff, and indeed, no, actually, Johnny steals it.
And Dalo might be in trouble. Pan drops on top of him, but it's actually the sprint that comes out on Burrito to try and get away from Creed. CB realizes he can't, turns around, uses the taunt for the heal, but now the damage actually going on to Dalo, who gets revived by Draco Marino, coming up big.
A great Kepri res, but the same can't be said for Creed. He had to make a choice, and it's going to be Johnny taking out Creed for the first blood bounty. Hobwa showing up.
Rip Creed, we hardly knew ye. He's going back to base, going to be first blood in favor of Burrito, and they're going to take away that blue buff, as well as Johnny was able to steal the speed buff too, so a very successful invade for Burrito gives them a minuscule, maybe like 200 to 300 gold lead, but now they're the ones that have those timers for those buffs down the side of the Poppy, so they might be looking for more aggression later.
And of course, that all kind of just gets to happen because of how much Poppies used just to disengage off of that speed buff earlier when they invaded Burrito. And again, that just kind of goes to show how strong Burrito's comp actually can be if they're grouped up. And Johnny as well has been keeping up with Dalo just fine, despite having lost a couple of his buffs. Getting that XP from the speed is going to help him out just a little bit.
And I'm glad you brought up Johnny. About when do you expect him to start having the big impact in these fights? I mean, he helped out a big part in this one. He actually got the credit, but when does that Hebo really start coming online?
I'd say right around now, because he has the Pen Boots online. He's already built into that tiny trinket, which will most likely lead into a Bancrofts or even possibly the Book of the Dead. I would expect the Bancrofts just because it's cheaper and still gives you that magical power you're looking for.
It's a good bit of damage. Warchi looking for the double bounce, unable to find it against Caspanify. They're alone over here too, so if they want to take this match, this fighting match, they got it for the moment, but now that the waves meet, they'll just back up, and Warchi looks to continue to outclear Caspanify as he's done a good job of all game.
And Warchi kind of just winning the in-hand trade as well there. But Mr. Nazer, he's not winning this trade out. Forced into that Aegis, trying to buy time until his Khepri can get near him. But he's all alone and nowhere to go. Farkrik actually going to take him out and out.
Dalo's up in the air, though. He's looking to crash down, and he does right on top of Fusify. Still hasn't got that one cleaned up. Farkrik returns in. They do end up getting that return kill on him, so it's 2 for 1. But Mr. Nazer was looking real lackadaisical there in the mid lane. He was just chilling.
Mr. Nazer wasn't expecting that much damage so quickly. Fusify, as soon as he lands that Hammerstone, Farkrik's looking for the follow-up, and that's what you need out of your mid laner, especially a Soul. He connected with that Stellar Burst that just opens up the ultimate, and once that Supernova came through, it was way too much damage for Mr. Nazer to handle.
He's also gone with the Book of Thoth start as well, so that means he doesn't have any extra health, any extra sustain, anything like that in the kit. Just what he gets off his leveling at this point, so got to be on the watch a little bit more for that damage that comes out from Fusify and Farkrik when they combo up. But Sibby and Creed getting low. Sibby actually continuing to go aggressive on the Creed. He gets the final in hand. Johnny just coming up to watch his friend get a nice kill as Dalo's in trouble too.
That was a clean solo kill by Sibby as well, and because of it, now they're going to have the chance to invade on this speed buff already being secured by Johnny. Draco Marino, though, he's not really looking to stick around, kind of just making sure that that buff was in fact cleared out before he returns to his team.
But how does that happen? Does Creed just come up too far forward in the lane or not respecting Sibby's damage? Like, how does he get soloed there?
If you notice, Sibby was actually right around 10% health, and both the solo laners were even. It's just that Sibby has that Erlong ultimate, and because of it, he was able to heal a decent enough amount that Creed probably just wasn't anticipating. And
that might have been the case as Creed still has his ultimate available. It might have been a case of Sibby having his and Creed not having had it. I think he just used it, though, to go aggressive on the Sibby, and Sibby ends up falling. Excellent play there by Creed to get the return kill, but Dalo's rotating over just to help if help was needed.
Dalo was looking with that through the Cosmos to make sure that there was nobody else hanging around out of position that he might have been able to aggress on or even pick up an odd buff or two. Unfortunately, Burrito's been clearing out their buffs or looking for them on every single timer, and now it's just going to be the fire elementals that PAPIS claim.
And that'll likely be the last rotation of those fire elementals too. At 10 minutes, the fire giant will join us on the map, breaking free from his chains, and then it'll switch over to the portal demon on this side. And that's also when you kind of see the focus shift a little bit more towards that dual lane side, because you don't really get much from the portal, can't do fire, so then you start looking at Gold Fury.
Really starting to approach that point in the game, though, where you have the very clear breakout of the matchups. For instance, you've got Johnny, who's probably going to provide a lot more damage to his team, especially sitting at level 10 now. He's most likely got that first ability maxed out, and that is a significant amount of damage for these team fights. But you also have to keep in mind that Zeus is steadily climbing back up there, and that AoE ultimate can really interfere when it comes to team fighting objectives.
And we were talking before about how much Hebo can bring from the jungle. I mean, the 3 has the knockup on it. That's another form of crowd control. The 2 has the slowest. Fusify might be in trouble. Zeus commits the ultimate up into the dragon form to immune out the damage. Draco Marino was right there, though, to lock him down. Mr. Nazer gets the credit for that one with the detonate. One more kill goes the way of the PAPIS.
Great recognition by Draco Marino right there, just making sure that even after he transforms, Fusify wasn't going to be able to dash away. One of the only downsides of going into that draconic form is you can't exactly go anywhere after, and everybody knows what you're doing.
It is a bit obvious where you're going to be when you end up landing, and Draco Marino takes full credit of that one, takes full advantage, and ends up cleaning up that kill. So now we'll see Fusify make his way back out to lane, maybe feeling a little bit sadder as he dropped a kill, but not too much worse for wear. Things are still only about 1,000 in favor of Burrito.
Warchi, though, is going to have to start being incredibly careful in this dual lane, making sure to not get baited out by Kispanify, because Kispanify has so much survivability on Jingwei between that knock-up into the dash and plus her ultimate. And it's the attack speed steroid as well. What I'm really keeping an eye on, Warchi actually backing off because of Fusify's rotation.
And a big rotation from PAPIS too. Nazer, Dalo, and Draco Marino are all here. Johnny here as well, so the numbers are at least even as our solo laners are just kind of hanging out on that right side lane. Good bounce from Warchi, though, getting strong poke into the back, taking a little bit of damage as Draco Marino, but up into the air is Dalo. This is more than just clearing space. He's looking to pick up Johnny, knocks him up, and Fusify is right there with the disarm to keep him from following up with an E in hand.
And Johnny, immediately recognizing that he was probably going to be the target there, started backing towards his tower line just in case Dalo did commit to him. Because if he tried to venture or dive that tower, he's most likely going to end up dying. And now it's actually Johnny trying to turn the tides onto Dalo, who's caught way out of position here.
But the ultimate from Draco Marino to keep him alive one more time. He's been big with those Khepri revives to help his team stay alive. So no harm, no foul from Dalo. And the space he created did get them those oracles.
That's a pretty huge team fighting ultimate to go down, though. And I say team fighting because there are so many different ways for Burrito to force out members of the Poppies into incredibly low threshold. That was 2 abilities from Johnny that put Dalo into kill radius.
And there's no want for damage going to be coming from Johnny. Good hammer stun. Forces the beads out of Warchi. He returns the stun to Kispanify, drops the suns, and that's going to be enough to create some space for himself. So only has to give up his beads and his ult, but he does get out of there.
But without his ultimate or his purification beads, and without Draco's ultimate as well, I wouldn't be surprised to see Burrito try and aggress onto the Gold Fury here. This could be a really good team fighting opportunity for them, since they would probably have the upper hand. There's 3 ultimates now from the Poppies that are on cooldown.
And we were talking about where Johnny was going to go with this build. It looks like he's chosen to go with a little bit more survivability. The Book of the Dead does give him that health shield, which you can see building up for him there once he lifesteals beyond his max health. You like that over the Bancroft?
I mentioned that it could be one of 2 items, and I expected to be Bancroft simply because Bancroft is a little bit cheaper and you still get a strong power spike, but nothing wrong with Book of the Dead. A little bit more gold, but it certainly has a huge payoff, especially for a Hawa.
He might even have backed when he had enough to go for it, so just went for it as Kispanify. Once again, look at Fusify rotating in. They're really trying to not let Warchi be comfortable over here in this dual lane, as Fusify's rotated over here a lot more than Draco Marino, who we've seen almost exclusively in the middle lane.
As long as Burrito keeps pressuring out the Poppies dual lane side, then that means that the Poppies are going to have to consistently keep an eye out for this moment right here. There is so much burst potential for Burrito to have onto that Gold Fury, but instead they want the fight, getting knocked up. He can't even do anything.
It was a bait. Draco Marino comes in, pokes his nose, and he gets blown up for it. Dalo wants to drop on the Fusify, though, who goes up into the Dragon Form. Suns are coming down. That's actually big. He was able to jump out, but Creed follows up right away. Dalo falls to Sibi on the back end of the fight, who's looking to chase down Mr. Nazer as well, who's in no man's land. 3 members of the Poppies fall, only 1 for Burrito, and Burrito aren't ready to give up just yet.
Burrito, though, they still have plenty of members healthy enough to continue this engagement. Speaking of which, Sibi, though, getting incredibly low. Creed gonna be able to find him.
Too greedy was Sibi at the end of that. Creed cleans it up very well. No one gonna be able to go for the Gold Fury, though, Taco. So in the end, it just kind of ends up being a little in favor of Burrito.
I would still favor that one to Burrito, yes, but I think the Poppies also won out pretty huge there because of the fact that they prevented Burrito from going onto that Gold Fury. I'm almost certain they would have been able to secure that one, because when it comes to securing the objectives, it's in favor of Burrito simply because of the Habwa.
Habwa ult so good at objectives, and you can't even be near it. You'll get hit by the Habwa ultimate yourself. But that's something we were talking about. The damage they put onto that Gold Fury at the start, it was down to half health. It was maybe like 3 seconds. So their ability to burst it is really high. Poppies have to make sure that they're keeping some vision on it right now that word control is almost entirely in favor of Burrito, so they got to be on the lookout for it.
You just have to appreciate that team play synergy from Firecrick and Johnny there. As soon as Firecrick Supernova gave that little window of a knock-up onto Draco, it was immediate follow-up by Johnny with that Habwa ult. And when that crushing wave comes through, there's absolutely nothing you can do.
That's what Draco Marino's got to be careful of. The bait around that Fire Giant was well executed from Burrito. Just Sibby just sticking around a little bit too long at the end of the engagement, going in for the knock-up on 2, and ends up getting caught by Creed, who cleans him up over the top. Again, though, we see some positioning around this Gold Fury. Warchi looking for the bounce, not able to find it. Neither the hammer stun from Fusify, so everyone just walks away.
It can always be really hard to tell as an ADC playing into the Hu Yi whether or not you want to actually try and venture through that jungle corridor.
Yeah.
There's just so many different little triple bounce spots, and if one of them happens to connect, that could just be your whole health bar.
Yeah, in those tight jungle corridors, Hu Yi able to provide so much extra damage. Right now, all 4 members of Burrito here minus Sibby, who's actually rotating in. So Burrito are making a hard call onto the objective. Johnny getting a good poke damage on the Warchi. Draco Marino, the only one that's close. Up in the air, though, is Dalo. Drops down a moment too late. Gold Fury already secured by Caspanify. But now the team fight. Fusify goes to the dragon form, but immediately gets blown. Nah, actually not. He jumps away. Mr. Nature cleans up with the detonate, though. That one's going to be enough.
One of the downsides of having those charges stack up against you. Speaking of which, Sibby, he's stacked up in the middle of 5 members from the Poppies, and that's going to cost him his life. So 2 for nothing so far from Burrito, but at least they got that Gold Fury.
They did get the Gold Fury, sitting on a 2,500 gold lead, experience closer to 3,000, but Poppies evened up the kill count at the very least, now 7-7. Going 17 minutes into the game, and with that man advantage, Poppies are looking to start up the Portal Demon. Caspanify is here, though. Good poke coming out from Creed to try and force him back, but like you said, Johnny still has his ult, and he can have a big impact here as Creed goes in.
Everybody from Burrito, though, getting hit by that chain lightning just means it's going to be difficult to get in. But
the blink,
steal!
The blink from Johnny goes in. They steal the Portal Demon, gets the kill onto Creed as well. He might pay for it with his life, and he does. Dalo gets credit for that one, but he's low and pinned by Sibby, and Warchi falls as well. So it ends up being 3 kills. Poppies take. Burrito steal the the Portal Demon thanks to a hero play from Johnny.
And now 3 members of the Poppies are dead, all for the price of Johnny's life. That is an instant win every single time. They did not factor in that Johnny still had that blink available. It's one of those times where you kind of just wish you hit tab, or at least you keep the Hebo in combat so that way he can't blink.
That's a big frustration factor because the Poppies did such a good job zoning away for the majority of that Portal Demon engage, but Johnny comes in, cleans it up. Now working on that high to the Urchin, looking to get a little bit more survivability when he comes back in, gets a few more assists and kills to stack that one up as Burrito want to try and force down tier 1 tower in mid. Sibby gets the taunt off onto Mr. Nazer. Fusify uses the girdle, try and get a little bit more damage out, but Dalo's up in the air. He crashes down the back onto Ferrocrig to keep him out of the engagement. Caspanify is there, though, knocks him up, gets a lot of return damage, actually dashes in aggressively, cleans that kill up. Johnny zoning away 2 more members of the backline. Tier 1 tower falls, and Sibby gets 1 more kill.
Just look at how deep Sibby is. The rest of his team's focusing on that T1 tower, but he's going all the way into the T2. Warchi trying to do what he can, dropping the Suns onto 3 members from Burrito, but that doesn't even matter. Fusify going to easily go into that Draconic form, try and chase everybody out. Sibby, though, he had the ultimate juke. The best juke is no juke at all, and Creed taken out for the count.
I think Creed might have played himself. He gets the stun off on him, and he might not have expected it. He jumped past him. He played himself. Oh, Creed, it's hard to watch, but in the end, Burrito ended up taking 4 kills. They take the tier 1 and tier 2 tower. Now they're looking to get healed up, spend some of that gold that they got in their pockets. They're up 14-8 and 8,000 gold.
Sometimes you just forget that you had your tether active on somebody, and so you end up overshooting the ultimate, but like I said, Sibby with the ultimate juke of no juke at all.
And Sibby makes it out. I'm sure he's going to put that one in his highlight reel. It's all calculated, Taco. Of course, at this high level, Sibby knew the stun was going to dodge for him, so he was chill.
So you take those.
Yeah.
You take those every single time. And Burrito, they're not looking to take any L's, at least not in game number 1. So far, putting themselves in a really strong position, already establishing the 8,000 gold lead.
And I love what we're seeing from these 2 teams. I mean, there is seeding in the gauntlet that's on the line for these 2 teams, and that does mean you have to play 1 less match if you can get that 7th seed. But you know, with already being relegated, there's not as much on the line as other teams, but they're coming in, they're playing hard. We're seeing great play from Burritos. Poppy's looking great as well. 7 and 8 in Europe, that doesn't mean that you're that bad. I mean, it's just a tough region.
Well, from what I've seen as far as feedback, is hold that thought. It's actually going to be Fusify trying to get things going. Dalo taking a huge chunk of health just out of that water spout from Johnny, and Mr. Nazer actually so scared of the damage, dropping his ultimate and his Aegis.
And now Mr. Nazer gets pinned out by Sibby, has to use beads to try and keep the run alive. That is going to be enough as Burrito fall back, but a lot of really important cooldowns taken. In particular, Mr. Nazer will be fully exposed in this next engagement without beads or Aegis.
With this grouping happening from Burrito right now, wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe start turning their heads towards that Fire Giant. Johnny, of course, though, doing what every jungler does best, taking the speed buff.
Looking to maybe force out the ultimate from Dalo, and that's what they do, because Spanify and Sibby. Dalo a little bit on his own over here on this left-hand side. They force him to use it. Fusify goes in aggressively, hammers onto Mr. Nazer, who we know can't get away with beads or Aegis. Johnny's looping around the back, gets the knock-up, but the stun from Warchi's better to keep his mid laner alive.
That was a great stun out by Warchi. If he doesn't do that, then we see Johnny probably looking for the follow-up. Speaking of which, Creed ulting away, popping those thorns, just trying to buy himself a little bit of time because it's going to be Poppy's forced underneath their Phoenixes, but Fusify doesn't even care. He goes in.
Now it's Johnny going in, putting lots of damage. That's what this jungle Hebo can do so well, creating space for Spanify to come in and start putting some damage into the Phoenix. It's still rather tanky, though, and they haven't gotten much damage onto it. Poppy's actually get him to back off.
Not there just yet. Burrito, they've been doing an excellent job of maintaining control of this game, but going on to the Phoenix just a little bit too soon there. Still not really risking a whole lot of anything. It's actually Mr. Nazer, his ultimate's just now coming back up. Dalo should be online pretty soon as well. Still, though, Spanify just easily soloing this Gold Fury. I mean, Fusify showed up just because, but he really didn't need to be there.
Yeah, Spanify had that one handled. That is going to push the gold lead for Burrito up to 11,000. Poppies want to try and pull the Portal Demon. They recognize they got all 5 here, and Spanify is missing from the engagement. Still here, though, is Johnny, who has the ultimate available. We've seen this one before as Sibby does taunt in Draco Marino. Probably not the target he was looking for, and that's enough to force Poppies back, though.
I think that this is a pretty big distinguishing factor. Speaking of which, Warchi actually forced into that Aegis after getting knocked up by Johnny. Just doing everything they can to try and avoid this Habwa's damage.
And Burrito have kind of taken this game away from the Poppies. I mean, they really are in control of this one. Up in the air, though, is Dalo. He lands down on Sibby. The stun comes out. Follow-up damage is good, but Sibby just barely clinging to life. No, Mr. Nazer cleans that one up because Spanify also finds Draco Marino. Now Johnny trying to take down Creed, looking to use that Lord of the Afterlife defensively yet again, jumping over the wall. Burrito gonna try and take the Portal Demon.
All Johnny wants, though, is that follow-up potential. He's already killed out Mr. Nazer's Aegis, and shortly after, it's gonna be Mr. Nazer falling as well.
I feel like Mr. Nazer, I feel like he just got that Aegis back and it's already gone. Johnny blinks in one more time, cleans up a Warchi with Spanify there to dance in the sunlight. Now this tier 2 tower is going to be the call from Burrito. Only Dalo and Creed around to defend as the other 3 are sitting in base.
Fusify, though, he won't be able to get away with the lazy bag just yet. Spanify getting a little bit of lifesteal regen off of that blue buff, as well as just stripping it away. That's more farm that the Poppies are going to have to find somewhere else. And judging by the map, there's really not much else they can find farm at.
At this point, it is going to be difficult for them to get that golden experience to try and even out some of these deficits. In particular, Dalo struggling mightily behind Johnny. He's sitting level 15 while Johnny's at level 19, 6-1 and 7. This jungle Hebo's been working out excellently for Burrito so far. Fire Giant goes down easily. No way for Creed and Dalo to get in there. And Burrito ready to start pushing.
And this all kind of just skyrocketed for Burrito and started to spin wildly out of control for the Poppies. They kept trying to respond to the team fights with their own counter engage, and ultimately what they probably should have done is just sit back a little bit tighter, waited until they had a little bit more farm online, and Mr. Nazer just getting caught out one time too many.
Mr. Nazer has been getting punished this game so far. Part of that, though, is the way Johnny's piloting this Hebo. He's made Mr. Nazer a focus of his. Even if he doesn't get the kill, he'll take the relics, as it looks like mid lane will be the call for Burrito. All 5 members are here. The defense from Poppies hasn't quite been set up just yet, with Mr. Nazer and Dalo trying to rotate over from the side. Dalo does have his ult, though, so he could crash in at any time.
Pretty much all the members, though, from the Burrito are just looking to go in, and they're already so farmed enough that they can do it. That Zeus Ultimate, though, going to buy themselves a little bit of time because Caspainify is so low. Dalo, though, just landing on top of Johnny, not really doing much of anything.
Caspainify backed up smartly when he recognized he had such low health. No way for Dalo to get back there and try and finish him off. Instead, he has to go onto Johnny, who's pretty able to survive in these engagements. Now they can regroup and push one more time onto this Phoenix, and they got a minion wave coming to help out.
That was already 2 ultimates, though, from the Poppies, and Burritos still have 4. Not to mention that when you have a Habwa in your team, it almost feels like you have 7 or so. Yeah,
his whole kit is an ultimate. Fusify blinks in, doesn't get the hammer off onto Mr. Nazer, which is what he wanted. Draco Marino is trying to keep Faircrick away from the engagement. Sibby comes in, but it's not Mr. Sibby that gets the stun, it's Fusify. Lots of damage coming out on the Burrito. They got to back off from underneath the Phoenix. In fact, Sibby could be in trouble here. He looks resigned to his death, and he does indeed fall. Dalo gets credit for that kill, and the Phoenix still stands.
Still a great defense by the Poppies, just keeping Burrito off of that Phoenix, and the longer that they keep them away from sieging this Phoenix means that the less time Burrito are going to have if they're trying to look at the objectives elsewhere.
Dalo gets a lot of damage onto Mr. Nazer, goes in for those water hands too and doesn't pay for it at all. Getting some damage off on the multiple members. And that last engagement was Creed. Johnny goes in aggressively trying to punish Warchi, who lands back on top of him. Aegis is enough to keep him alive. He actually ults into the Aegis. Warchi blows him up. Thank you for that one. Now Poppies are looking to push in aggressively as Faircrick's very low.
Everything there seemed pretty delayed by Johnny, but it doesn't matter because right now it's all about Creed trying to get this engage off onto Faircrick, who doesn't have the Separate form available just yet. He's actually going to get the Love Bug hug from Draco Marino, which is going to spell his death.
This is a big fight for Poppies. That was against a Fire Giant team that they've defended, not just defended, but they take down 3 lives. They do actually end up losing the Phoenix, so Burrito get the structure that they want, but now Poppies can try and take a little bit more off the map. Gold Fury's up. There's only 3 members to defend the structures. What's going to be the call?
Johnny really has been so on point, though, the whole game with this Habwa, and then that last play by him was just like watching him in slow motion.
It was weird, yeah.
Everything came out after the fact, but Warchi taking full advantage of the situation, had a well-timed Aegis as well, just to make sure that he doesn't eat the ult damage from Johnny's.
They do burn the Gold Fury in time. Still looking to get a little bit more back as Fusify, but realizes that they got to back up instead. Get prepared for this Fire Giant that'll be respawning in about a minute and a half. The buff itself will be falling off in about 20 seconds. And now Poppies can feel confident that they have a chance to fight in. Can they defend this Fire Giant push?
They might be able to defend the Fire Giant push, but the problem here is that at the end of the day, their mid-Phoenix still fell. So ultimately, Burrito were able to find what they were after, which is a really strong look for the team. It also goes to show their little bit of competitive experience paying off, making sure to keep the objective as the primary focus.
And that comes down primarily to Caspainify, the one doing a lot of the structure damage at this point in the Jingwei, but no one can hang with Mr. Nazer in terms of damage right now. He was sitting up at the top of the charts, and we do see Caspainify is the one that's been shredding, but Mr. Nazer, 26,000, no surprise coming from a Zeus.
He's really been all over the place with these chain lightnings and detonates, seemingly well timed for each and every single one of them, but he just has to be so careful and paranoid all the time, and it puts so much pressure onto Draco as well because he constantly has to be worried about which carry is going to get blown up first. Whenever there's a Blink Habwa plus the Soul and Caspainify, they're all dealing so much damage right now that it's incredibly difficult for Draco to have to pick and choose.
That is the challenge that comes with piloting the Khepri. Fusify rotating in to try and help lock down Dalo and maybe set up Caspainify. He does get the disarm, but Dalo had the ultimate, but now that's something that won't be available to help contest Fire Giant, which has just respawned on the map, so a good win for Burrito.
I don't see Poppies trying to contest the Fire Giant either way. They're going to be missing Dalo's ultimate in case Burrito tried to just siege that right-hand Phoenix immediately. There is still a T2 tower remaining in that dual lane side, so if anything, Burrito are probably going to keep that in mind during this next push. Although, if they're able to find at least 3 or 4 members from the Poppies, it won't really make too much of a difference if they look for a Titan siege.
Now Burrito looking to push down this right side Phoenix is going to be the call for them to try and make the push a little bit easier for him. Gets the pin on the Warchi. No immediate follow-up. Hammer hits Mr. Nazer too, so Frontliner's doing a good job setting up the CC. Johnny doing a bit of a split push in the mid lane to bring that Fire Minion wave down and keep things going. That triple bounce does hit Kispanify, though, so good on Warchi.
That was pretty hot, but now the frenzy has been popped. It's all in right now from Burrito. Kispanify, though, forcing the Aegis. He's so low in the back line that everybody else from Burrito doesn't feel comfortable trying to sink themselves in.
And it's Warchi getting good poke off onto him. Creed has Johnny locked down, but the Water Carpet lets him get away from the slows without having it available, because Kispanify had to back. Even with that Jingwei passive, can't be back very quickly. Gonna have to walk down the whole middle lane. And so that's enough to stall from the Poppies. Their Phoenix defense has looked excellent this game.
That's the benefits of having Zeus on your team. As long as Mr. Nazer is alive, so are the Poppies' hopes of winning this game. Right now, it's all on Mr. Nazer to just watch his positioning. That way he can provide adequate damage for his Hunter to follow up with.
And it looks like Burrito want to try and split the map up a little bit here. Don't let the Poppies get the benefit of grouping up as 5 for the defense. Johnny, Kispanify, Fusify here on the middle lane, and Farrakrick in trouble as Dalo lands on top of him. Sibby was right there, as was the Disapparate form. 3-man taunt, though, from Sibby. Creed is the one taking a lot of damage. Has to use Lord of the Afterlife to get away. Mid lane Phoenix does fall, and now the call is the right.
Poppies have to be really careful here, though. They've been starting to group up a little bit, and that's the exact scenario that a Blink Havois wants to handle with. Mr. Nazer looked like he just used his Purification Beach trying to get away, but Kispanify actually forced into his own ultimate, looking for the escape. Mr. Nazer trying to get back into that fountain as soon as possible, and Firecrick still going ham on that Phoenix.
Johnny blinks in on Mr. Nazer. Not only the Aegis comes out, but as well as the ultimate from Draco Marino. Another Aegis to keep him alive under the damage from Johnny, but right side Phoenix also falls. 2 are down now in favor of Burrito, but look how low Johnny is, and they're going to keep putting on the pressure as Creed. Slow immunity comes out from that carpet to keep him going. Sibby trying to keep the boxing happening, but Mr. Nazer's damage is enough to set up Creed.
Sibby trading out his life for his own soul laners, but it's going to be responded on immediately. Firecrick taking out Mr. Nazer. Kispanify, those crits chunking away at Creed. Dashing coming through from Kispanify. No chance. Dalo's just gone.
Poppies overcommit. The rest of Burrito rotate in on the back of the fight and get a couple of quick kills. Now 3 members are dead. Only Sibby has dropped for Burrito, and with the Titan exposed, they've got enough damage here, Taco, to go in and try and end.
There's no way that a Havois, Soul, Fafnir, and Jingwei can't secure this Titan siege. That's all of the damage that you would possibly want, and sure enough, this Titan is just getting shredded already.
Titan down to half HP. Only Warchi and Draco Marino here to try and defend, but with Kispanify and Johnny there, it's just too much.